Welcome to the CU Scoop. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka Dukes the Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes the Scoop. And please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We're up to 9,100 subscribers on that push to get to 10,000. Come be a part of the family. We talk a lot. Got some really good stuff with Colorado. We got other college football teams we talk about, the Falcons, the Braves, anything Atlanta, anything you guys want to talk about, we are able to talk about. But join the family. Come on with it. And if you want to be an extra supporter, go look in the description and then find out how to become a member. I think we're up to almost 15, 16 members. We want to get that number up to 20, so come become a member. But yeah, fresh off my trip to Colorado. Oh, and tonight's episode brought to you by One for All and All for One. OFAAFO.com. They just sent me some really cool gear. I got a hoodie to match this, super dope. And if you want your clothing brand represented on this show, shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, and I'll get it on for you. All right. Inside Colorado's showcase, not the pro day, but the showcase. We'll call it pro day just so we're all on the same page, but it was set up like a showcase. So I'll just give it to you top to bottom. Thursday, after I watch practice, I make my rounds, talk to everybody, go around the building, go downstairs, run into Darius from Reach the People. We kick it for a minute. Then also with Bucky, kicked it with my guys, and then I was watching as they started to build the showcase. And you see the lights go up where it says showcase, and I'm like, bro, this is different. VIP section sitting right next to there. Shout out to Miss Ty, man. She really put it together. And then they had like a radio row set up, as you saw. Myself, Big Dog Chico, and Uncle Neely for the pregame network. Shout out to Uncle Neely, did a phenomenal job yesterday getting us set up. But we were right next to ESPN and NFL network, thanks to Coach Prime. And it was an amazing setup. You had the food, you had the drinks there. They made water, juice, whatever you needed. Probably the most welcoming pro day I've ever seen. Been the SEC pro day. It's Georgia, Bama. I mean, I ain't never seen anything like this. Nebraska, Texas, never seen anything like this. All right, so you get the pamphlet, right? I think Uncle Neely showed it earlier, but you get a pamphlet, and it has a little bit about every one of the participants in it. A basic scouting report, their measurements, a bit of a bio. You know, it was put together in a really concise fashion, so the scouts could get a hold of it and really take to it. They passed them out earlier in the day. Then they had a meeting with Coach Prime and some of the coaches. Met with a ton of the scouts. I mean, it had to be over 100 something NFL representatives there. Crazy part about it, the Giants and the Browns alone had over 30 representatives. 14 came from the Giants. It was crazy. 14 from the Giants, 17 from the Browns. The Giants had the ownership there. They had coaches there. They had Jesse Armstead, Coach Prime's homeboy there. A lot of people there. The Browns had the Haslam family there. They had Andrew Berry, GM, there. So that's just those two teams. So if you were watching the broadcast on the pregame network, you may have saw where I got caught with a hot mic on. I was out mixing and mingling, and I went down to what I call Scouts Row, where all the scouts were. The majority of the scouts were. There were two sides when they were running the 40 times, and I ran into some guys that I knew from just being in the business for a little while and just being able to get some inside information on what they thought. And it's funny because the guys that they came to, everybody didn't come just to see Shedeur and Travis. There are a lot of guys there to see these wide receivers, especially the wide receiver group. 1,000% that wide receiver group, all three of those guys will get drafted. They wanted to get some questions answered out of that group. They wanted to see Shiloh. They wanted to see the safeties. They wanted to see Shiloh and the shark, Cam, Silm, and Craig. who had a lot of support there. Shout out to Cam Sealman Craig, good buddies with Kool-Aid McKinstry. So they were all there together. I thought that was cool that he showed up to support not only him, but Travis. And yeah, Kool-Aid is good with a few of those guys. Cornerback with the Saints, formerly of the University of Alabama. So, yeah, man. So just being able to understand that these guys, now, of course, they were there for Shedeur and Travis, but to hear how many teams were there to really dive into the other players on the roster, and because there's a high value being placed on guys who may not have the same star as a Shedeur or a Travis, but when you look at the football team as a whole, a program changing football team, this was the team that jumped 5 wins. These are the players that took you from 4 wins to 9 wins in the Big 12 when a lot of people thought you couldn't do it. Those are change catalysts. And those are guys who, when you say, dang, they play a winning brand of football. Anytime you can increase 5 wins, you want to know who, and this is coming from a 1-11 team. So 1-11 to 4-8 to 9-4. When you have those type of change catalysts, you want to find out who's doing what. You want to get an up close view of them, especially if you're drafted in the middle rounds, because you want to find somebody who can come in and make a roster. Some guys who really helped themselves today. Shiloh Sanders helped himself today. I was just talking about some of the 40 times of some of the best safeties in the league when you look at Kyle Hamilton running a 4.64, when you look at Cam Kinchins, who had a really good season last year for the Rams out of the University of Miami running a 4.65. Shiloh to go put up an unofficial 4.52 was crazy. And anybody who was watching the pregame network live broadcast, and if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. It's like 7 or 8 interviews. Me, Chico, and Neely are kicking it. Please go watch it. But if you saw it earlier, you would see that before any of the other times came out, I came back and I said, hey, man, I know everybody is saying 4.52 for Shiloh, but I saw a scout at 4.49. Then after that, I think Bucky posted a video that says he had a scout at 4.47. That ain't cap. That's the truth. The official time that was, so there was a score, just so you understand the setup, when they were going down to 40 and they go to the strip, after the time, they weren't yelling the time, they were sending it to the top. And you could see it on the practice scoreboard what the time was. So I walked down there. But being on Scouts Row, you can see what scouts are, either their time with their phones or their stopwatch. You can see what they're getting. Now, these guys are trained to understand, it's not an eye test. It's basically start versus when your body crosses the finish line, understanding where the finish line was. So there were some guys who may have had a higher time, but they had guys who had lower times. I saw 4.49. Bucky saw 4.47. So Shiloh helped himself because teams always take that lower number. The capability to run that fast for someone who had so many questions about his speed, I thought he answered a lot. Shiloh's gonna get an opportunity. Talking to a couple of teams in particular that were there that thought that he had enough ability and coverage that the trait that he doesn't have to be considered only a box safety. That if you needed him to get out and run, he can get out and run, and he proved that. So I think a lot of people talk about, how good of a hitter Shiloh is, and he is. He does lower the boom, but Shiloh also has a high IQ, and Shiloh also can run. He proved that today. So I don't care if you're in a 4.2 40. Shiloh at a 4.5 with a 15-yard drop on you, you're not gonna beat him to that spot. It's just not gonna happen. It had to be a 200-yard field. So I think by him proving that he has the speed to get deep, I think that really helped him. Probably the most impressive performance all around will probably have to go to Will Shepherd. Will Shepherd basically said, hey, look, I know it looks like I got one route, and I know it looks like all I can do is, big body people for the football and 50-50 balls and all of that. Will Shepherd was getting in and out of his breaks. Will Shepherd proved that he was a plus athlete at 6'4", ran 4.5, broad jump 10 feet 11 inches, which would have been top 10 at the combine. 40.5-inch vertical. You hear me and Uncle Neely always talk about what those jumping statistics tell you. That's explosion. Short area bursts. And you mix that with already being 6'4" and being able to jump 40 inches in the air, already having a large wingspan. Will Shepherd solidified himself day 3. And I think, it's going to be rough for him to get to day 2. But I think he definitely solidified himself as a day 3 pick. He's going to get an opportunity to go make a roster. And I couldn't be happier for him. A guy who I got more familiar with as he trained. And we said it a bunch of times, but Steph Brown, their trainer, is my partner. My guy from Atlanta. And he was always raving about, he was like, man, I know they talking about Jimmy. I know they talking about Jonte. But, man, Shepherd is right there with him. And Will Shepherd did a great job. So shout out to Will Shepherd for making himself some money. Jonte Wester proved once again that he's one of the he didn't beat his combine 40 time, which he can always stand on that, right? He had a documented time at the combine, ran 4.4, so he's good. Didn't have to run today. Ran anyway, which shows that he's a competitor. But you saw the fluidity in his routes and him getting in and out of his breaks once again. So he's proven that he's going to be a guy who can help you at all 3 levels when you're attacking the defense, whether you need to get him in space and screen game, if you need him to get in the intermediate range as far as running more slants and potentially digs, and then if you need to get him into the 3rd level, post, bang 8, he can do everything. But I think he's going to be really explosive in the slot, man. I think him getting some seam work is going to be good for him. And he proved that today, but it's just seeing how fluid he was in his routes. I definitely think he made an impact. As I heard a couple of scouts talking about him today too. And Jimmy Horn made some money today too. 4.4 flat, he was a little disappointed, but there are some scouts that had him at 4.3. Eric Galco of the East-West Shrine Bowl had him at 4.35. He tweeted it. So Jimmy Horn showed his explosion. As the East-West Shrine Bowl guy, shout out to Galco. Galco gonna go to bat. So I think it's good that they all got that experience. So the wide receiver group came, saw, conquered. So big ups to them, man. I think they solidified their draft status. Another guy who really went crazy was BJ Green. 4.59. Hello. Yeah. Explosive. Yeah, I think he made himself some money as well, man. That 4.59 is crazy. Led the busting sacks last year, and now you can see why. Did balled everywhere he went, even from Prince Avenue Academy back in the day, man. He's always been a baller, and he just showed that even where his game as a defensive lineman is more predicated towards pass and pad level and leverage. He showed that he has some explosion where you can put him on the edge. Stand him up if you need to. He'll get there. And I thought that was really important for him to be able to show that explosion and to improve on his time from the Big 12 Pro Day. So shout out to BJ Green as well. Block Bully 30 reps on the bench press. Telling you exactly what he is. He didn't come here to be a track star. He's a stalwart in the middle of the defense. So being his strength, like Samson, that's his strength, So 30 bench press reps was strong for him. So I was glad he was able to show that strength. Cam Silman-Craig did good in DB drills. Left a little, I think he didn't run as well as he wanted to and as he could have, but I think when you turn on the tape, you see exactly what he is. And in DB drills, he definitely did a good job, looked really fluid. There were some other guys who did well as well, but those were the main guys who kind of stood out. I may be missing a couple of people, but the main person who I think helped himself today, even though he didn't have to do anything, was Shedeur. Shedeur only missed 2 passes on the day. Just missed. Out of that whole script, which is damn near unheard of. his accuracy, where he was placing the ball. And I think people really saw that he throws a really, really catchable ball. And the deep throw, everybody was talking about like, oh, some of the balls had a little bit of wobble to them. Like, bro, they was in the same, they was getting where they had to go. It's in a perfect spiral contest, you know what I mean? And but even though, but when he had to flash the arm strength, he did. What I liked about Shador was how poised he was. For him to be so poised that he went behind the back one time, you know, like Shador is a cool customer. Like you can't really shake him. For him to, and that's the type of guy that you want in a big time football game in the third, fourth quarter, when when you need something, you want to be able to trust the guy. And I think Shador proved himself to be that guy today. The Browns and the Giants were there. I think the Browns had a lot of interest, as everybody knows. Probably now the news is out that the Browns had dinner with Shador and Travis Hunter the night before. Definitely heard the Browns talking about Shador. Saw GM Andrew Berry once Shador came on pregame network for an interview, and then went to NFL Network. And as he was leaving from the main stage, Andrew Berry was the first guy right there to greet him. Even heard Sean Payton over there ear hustling a little bit. But yeah, definitely saw Andrew Berry taking a really big interest in every word that he said. So I will watch Cleveland there. I think Coach Prime was on the record saying he thinks that either Trav or Shador is going to the Browns. They spent a lot of time with him. Saw him spending a lot of time with Andrew Berry himself. So I think Shador had a really big day, man. Happy for him and excited for him. Travis Hunter didn't even do much, but the little things he did do is like running routes. Man, Trav ran a route one time that I was looking live like, bro, how does his body contort like that? Like, you couldn't tell where he was going. And he's one of those guys where they say you always watch a guy's hips. And even Coach Prime say you look a little higher, but you can't tell with him. He can mask anything. He's almost like a walking contortionist, bro. It's weird. And he's a real live alien. And he showed that today and was catching passes with no gloves, throwback. The leather ball, that slick ball, people feel like you got to have gloves to combat that slick leather, but Travis Hunter really does not need it. And he showed that today. He was just out like, hey, man, this is just who I am as a football player. I think that almost solidified him as one of those guys who's like, bro, he's just a football player. I know what they say about going offense and defense, but man, you got to give him a shot at it because the guy's just a born ball player. So shout out to Travis for making an impact with a minimal effort. Like it's like it would look effortless. He was having a great time. And I think for a lot of the Colorado Buffaloes fans, being able to see that it signified the end of an era. And I know a lot of people are sad, but I want to say this. It's also the beginning of an era. See, this is the beginning of the real Coach Prime era because now the people that he brought before were products of something that he was building somewhere else. Now he's just bringing these are all guys that want to be the next wave at Colorado. A lot of those first guys were Coach Prime guys, right? Now you got Colorado guys under Coach Prime. This is now the Colorado that Coach Prime built. Before, there was a lot of uncertainty because it hadn't been built yet. So you knew you were with Coach Prime and you knew you were with Colorado, but you didn't see what it was going to be together. Now you're under the umbrella of the Colorado that Coach Prime built, the new Buffs. And I think it's also, so even though it's the end of an era and it's sad and you got new journeys and you'll become fans of different football teams depending on where all these guys get drafted. It's going to be a few guys, a lot of guys drafted. I think especially those receivers really helped themselves today. But it's also new beginnings. So for the Colorado Buffaloes fans who, they get in the comments and like, oh, sad, it's the end of an era. Rejoice. Because with every ending creates a new beginning. And part of those two cornerstones of that new beginning were one of them, their names were floating around very heavily at Pro Day. Julian Lewis's dad, I didn't see Julian, he might have been there, but I definitely talked to TC, Julian Lewis's dad. Talked to London Mayor's dad as well. And but George Seaton and Julian Lewis were two names that were buzzing around in those scouting circles. Jordan Seaton looks like a real pro. Like, you could just see him standing out there. And when you saw some of the NFL guys like a Zay Weaver, you saw like a Kool-Aid McKinstry, guys who had already made it, Jordan Seaton looked like a guy who's already made it. He looked different. And one thing we know about the NFL draft, when you're a guy with first-round potential, especially as an offensive tackle, and we know the premium that they have on those guys where they can easily be the number one overall pick. There are only certain positions that can be the number one overall pick. When you go back and you look at it, when's the last time you saw a tight end go number one overall? You don't. You haven't. You don't see D tackles, O tackles, quarterbacks usually number one overall for the most part. So for someone who can be the number one overall pick, scouts are already doing their research. They're tapping into they're tapping into their coaches. Coach Hageman, I saw him talking to a bunch of NFL people. Shout out to him. Andre Gerard, even Coach Gunner was talking to NFL people. Like, they want to know about Seaton for sure. You can bet that, and that's going to only bring more and more exposure to the rest of the team, because now for the next 2 years, you've got the potential number one pick, and you see it already. I don't think people knew how high Shedeur was going to go 2 years ago. They know right now what Jordan Seaton's going to be in a couple of years, and now you got this kid, Julian Lewis, who people have been following, and they want to know about it. They want to know, like, okay, because you got to have as much research as possible. And all that does is bring more exposure to the Colorado Buffaloes team. So next year can be Showcase Part 2. And when Seaton come out, Showcase Part 3. And the next guys and those other 5 stars and 3 stars who balled out, they'll be watching from the stands again saying, I can't wait till it's my turn. So all in all, man, just a great event. I did want to get out here. I know it's late. Right now it's what, 2 something in the morning here in Atlanta. I'm gonna drop this around. I'm gonna drop it now. We're just gonna eat it up, watch it tomorrow before the scrimmage, and then I'll call out to Colorado tomorrow, get you guys some information on the scrimmage. I'll probably drop that on Sunday. And we're just gonna be more consistent with the content. If you like what you're hearing and seeing, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button, and then make sure you go on there, and if you got questions, man, drop them in the comments, and we'll try to get those questions answered. All right, man, that's my time. I'm out, and don't forget to go become a member. Instagram and Twitter at DukestheScoop. I'm out.